hope you're enjoying my dad's videos. Make sure to share this video with family and friends, like and subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you get notified for all my dad's new videos. My social media will be tagged down below so you can follow it. And just remember, Jesus loves you.
Hi guys, just one little factor here before we start this video here today. If for any reason my YouTube channel gets taken down, which could happen because we're challenging the deep state and we're challenging the powers behind the scenes. But if it does get taken down, I'm going to share the link below here. We have a website, drcharlieward.co.uk, and you can subscribe on there to our updates and our newsletters, etc., that are being produced by Lee Hemington. But you'll be able to keep in touch with what's going on. So at the moment, everything is nice and smooth. But if for any reason we get taken down, you simply go to my website, drcharlieward.co.uk, and register there, and you'll get all the information as to where we are or where you can view our videos. So, hi there, everyone. Today again, I've got Tom with me. Welcome, Tom.
Morning, Charlie. How are you?
I'm very well, and you?
Yeah, very good. Very good. Great to see you again.
Fascinated with your numbers and your analogies of numbers, because what we're going through right now is a time where, as we just discussed, we're picking up on bits and bobs, and symbology, numerology, and astrology, and all these things are very, very important. Spirituality is very, very important right now in trying to understand what's happening.
Yeah, it's a great time, Charlie. It's a great time to be alive and to witness everything that's happening.
Isn't it just? There's some amazing things happening. Some things are behind the scenes, some things we can talk about, some things we can't talk about, but we're in a fantastic and amazing time.
We sure are.
So what have you got for us today?
Yeah, so we've got some good things, Charlie. So firstly, we just recapping from what we did last time, we were talking about August 29th. And just a brief 10 seconds. Those people that are new to this episode with Charlie and I, we're going to be doing numerology, or Trumpology as we like to call it, which basically is how President Trump talks to his followers and listeners, which bypasses the mainstream media in plain sight. And he does that in a beautiful way, does it in a number of ways, but the key to it is knowing your numbers in regards to letters and words. So for example, A is the first letter, B is the second letter, C is the third letter, and D is the fourth letter, etc., etc. Now, if you add up the word Trump, T-R-U-M-P, T is 20, R is 18, U is 21, M is 13, P is 16, that all comes up to 88. And 88 is that double infinity number, which is super powerful. So if you know that, you know the key to everything that Trump's saying. And just to give an example, last time we were talking about August, AUG, so that adds up to 29. And then the date 29, so that was a double, August 29, so that comes to 58. And it just happens to be that I've had this t-shirt for a long, long time, but Georgetown comes to 58 when you add it up. And also established also comes to 58. So there's some nice doubles there. So there's August 29, August 29. So I just sort of point that out for the viewers. But yes, Charlie, there's been some really great stuff. President Trump spoke about maybe 3 days ago now. I think it was 2 days ago. And he was talking about a number of things, but he started off. And if anyone that's really interested in what President Trump says, if you listen to his, literally the first 30 to 60 to 90 to 120 seconds of his speeches, he basically tells you everything that's happening. And then he repeats and does other bits and talks about the current thing with the virus and, other bits and pieces. But he basically gives you all the intel right up front, which is brilliant. So he said a few things. And he said, one thing he said stock market Dow. And he kind of did a silent. He's talked about things being down before. He said about a week or so ago, he said, mark it down, mark it down. And he was talking about marking something down, but he was also doing double speech. Another part that he mentioned was, he said the word declined, which when you add that up comes to 56, or 5 times 6, which comes to 30, which is a great marker for silver and gold, because gold is chemical symbol AU, which comes to 22, and AG again comes to 8. So 22 plus 8 equals 30. So he mentioned that right off the bat again. And then he started to talk about some specific numbers, and he said best in 36 years. And he repeated himself. So that's, again, a clear sign to listen to what he was saying. And best in 36 years actually comes to 289. Now, if you break 289 down, that's 2 plus 8 plus 9 equals 19. Now, 19 years ago was 9/11, and we're coming up to that again soon. So he repeated that twice. So think of what you will with that, people, but that could be important just to reflect upon that. But there's some other great things Charlie will go into. But yeah, I just wanted to start off with that.
It's very important, because it's very easy when you don't know anything about this to just go, well, that's coincidence. But how many coincidences do you actually need before the penny drops that something is going on?
Exactly.
And
Coincidence and pennies there, Charlie. Yeah, definitely.
You and I have been watching because we have inside information about some of this stuff. And we've been told before he says something that he's going to say something. There's certain codes in there that it was like the little code with the rabbit. I had the white rabbit, which caused absolute mayhem the other day. And then when a few people spotted, I put one up of Pimpy in the love heart just as a thank you. But these little codes, that was blatantly obvious, but there's other things that were said to us that right at the start of this, that when he mentions law and order, that means that somebody powerful has been arrested.
Very good.
There's been a few times when he's just said law and order but more than once.
Yes. Yeah.
And then we were told about then this information comes through different sources, one of which is Q, because they're decoding stuff. The storm is upon us, or this is when at critical parts, and we're told 24, 48 hours before he says it, he's going to say something. And then we all sit there, and there's been a number of times where he's actually said something in the last 10 seconds, just as he's leaving the podium.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's teasing his followers.
Yeah. Yeah. He's brilliant at that. It's brilliant how he it's just amazing how it's all worked out. And others are in on it, like I said. Well, the whole team are, but Ivanka's really good at it now. Yeah. She's been good at it before, but I've noticed stuff she's done. And Kaylee as well. Yeah. She did one the other day. And it was right to the T, and she did it. It was perfect trumpology. Yeah. She actually, I've got the notes. I was going to talk about it later, but I can talk about it now. So she did. Where are we? Give me a second. She said, here it is. So a day or two ago, President Trump did another one when he was. I think he was getting onto on the aeroplane at some point onto Air Force One. So he did one. In a press conference outside, a bit windy, etc. But someone said something, asked a name, and he did a double speech on this. And I don't know who the person was, but I think it was indicating they were, a bad player. But he said the witch, and he shouted out the witch. And then when you when you add up the word witch, WITCH, it comes to 63, which is also a marker for JFK, JFK1. And then Kaylee did something similar in a different setting. She was in the press briefing. But someone said something, and she started to basically pull them into line. But then she said horrific instead of horrific. So she said, instead of saying horrific, she said it's horrific. Horrific. Now, when you add up horrific, HORRIFIT, that comes to 103. which again is another marker to present JFK. So the first JFK, because he's 103 now. And she said that on 35 seconds, or started on 34 into 35 seconds. So 34 is the blend of NESARA, GESARA, and then 35 seconds. And so she's getting really good at it as well. These comms that they're doing are beautiful and amazing and just brilliantly timed.
And for people that don't understand it and don't get it, they'll miss it completely.
Could have been.
And we were talking about Trump, and the starting point with Trump and the number in the spelling of Trump. So, and that's a very good base point to start from when you're trying to get involved in numerology and understanding.
Yes.
Right at the very start of this, I became very fascinated in the numbers and didn't understand them. And then suddenly they all kept coming together. And when it starts to come together, it's incredibly beautiful, isn't it?
It is. It is. That's the word, Charlie. It's beautiful. It's just, it opens up another, it's like another language.
Yeah.
But it's a physical language. It's a language that you can understand and read, but it's also one that starts to manifest in the 4 and 5 dimensional world. It's really just incredible, and it just makes me start every day I get this happening. It's just incredible. Talking of that, I was going to speak about that again later, but I'll mention this one because it's come up at a good point in the conversation. So 2 days ago, I'm on my Boris bike in Regent's Park again, and I've mentioned before that Regent's comes to 88 and Park, P-A-R-K, comes to 46. So it's a great marker to President Trump. Regent's Park, you've got this inner circle with the Q shape, etc. Anyway, I'm on the bike and I'm cycling along, and I actually bump into a distant auntie of mine. I've met her before in the park, but she's the kind of auntie that I would see maybe, at weddings and funerals. Probably, I don't know, every 5 or 6 years, or whenever it is. And she's so my grandmother, Eileen, who's passed, she had a brother called Billy, and he's passed, and Maureen is Billy's wife. And so, anyway, I bumped into her, said hello, we're chatting, and then I turn away, and I literally turn the bike around, and then Melvin Bragg, the broadcaster, is walking along. And I don't know Melvin, but Melvin comes along. I chat to Melvin for a moment, and then Maureen catches us up. So I introduced the both of them together and say hello, and I should have got a photograph with them because it was a beautiful moment, as I worked out later. And then I cycle off, and then I see a guy on a line bike, and I ask him about the details of getting a line bike because they're kind of a different option. And this guy's name was Joel, and I'll mention why that is, but Joel adds up to 42, which is a reference to rewinding time, going backwards. And Christopher Nolan's film Tenet is all about reversing time and how they've been doing things. And it's a bit of a mind warp, I guess, but it's a challenge to work it out, but it's really quite amazing when you start to see the pieces. So going back to Maureen. So Maureen, her last name is, here we go. So yeah, her name is Maureen, which is 77. Larkin is her last name, which is 65. They both add up to 142, which is 1 times 42. So again, the time, reversal of time. I've seen this guy Joel come along, and I've seen Melvin Bragg come along. Now Melvin Bragg, Melvyn, comes to 91, and Bragg is Bragg, which comes to 35. That equals 126. Now 126 is also another reference to silver and gold because it's 47, the atomic silver, plus 79, which is atomic gold. So that comes to 126. The other reference we've spoken about before for silver and gold is 123. So the example of that was Jamie Redknapp. So Jamie was gold when you just spell out the word gold, and then Redknapp, when you spell out the word Redknapp, comes to 85, which is silver. So you've got 2 there. You've got 123 for Jamie Redknapp, but 126 for Melvin Bragg, who came walking along. So I've met an auntie of mine that I really don't see very much. She's got this great bit on reversal of time. She's born in 1938, so 38 is 38, which again is gold. So I've met her. Melvin Bragg's coming along. I introduce him and just say hello in the park, and then I go. And then this guy, Joel, comes along on his bike, and he's again at a time reversal. So I met silver and gold. I met another gold in terms of my auntie Maureen, and this guy, Joel, comes along. So what I'm saying is there's all these coordinates, all these things that are happening that seem to be totally random, but they're beautifully orchestrated. And I'm just, doing my thing, and I'm popping up and I'm seeing these things happen. And it's I don't know what the odds of that happening would be, but it happened. So I had silver and gold with Melvin Bragg. I had Auntie Maureen, time reversal on 42. She's gold, born in 1938. And then Joel comes along. Oh, and the other thing with Melvin Bragg's date of birth, he's born in 1939. So when you add 19 and 39 together, that comes to 58. So 58 is a double reference to two 29s. So 58 is 29 plus 29, which is August the 29th. And again, 58 is here on Georgetown and on established. So all these things are happening, Charlie. It's just great when you see them happening in the physical world, but we're crossing dimensions when all this stuff's happening.
In a world of chaos, you're making a lot of sense. It's incredible.
It is. It's brilliant. It's incredible. It is. It really is.
Making sense out of chaos.
Exactly.
And very often things happen and we don't realise until afterwards.
Yes.
That it was beautifully planned, and there's things that happen for reasons. There's, fate is a wonderful thing. Karma's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Very often you'll be pushing to do something and you'll get stopped from doing it for whatever reasons. We don't know at the time. And then but when you get into the numerology side of it, it's like, wow, it's mind blowing.
Yeah. It's like a periscope, isn't it? Like you say, you don't know what it is. And then in hindsight, you can work out what's happening or what happened.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay. And it's amazing as well when you get it just a little bit before, like you said, you hear about what Trump's going to do and you see it manifest and happen and confirmed in the future, or you see something physically happening as things are going on, or just shortly after you see it and you work it out. But this eternal periscope is just, it's brilliant. It's amazing.
Absolutely beautiful. I love it.
There's some other words that President Trump spoke about, Charlie, and one of them was he said the word achievement, but he dropped the T, so he said achievement. So you think you're hearing achievement, but he said achievement, and the reason for that is achievement comes to 85, which again is silver, and he said it on 22 seconds. So we'll include the link in the video when viewers watch it. But when you click on the link of President Trump speaking, 22 seconds in, he says achievement. So that's again a gold-silver reference, because 22 is AU, which is the atomic symbol for gold. And he says achievement on 85, which is 85. He says on 22 seconds in. Another one that he said was stocks. So stocks comes to 87. And stocks are 329s. So the beauty of this is the word on comes to 29, which is O, which is 15, and then N is 14. The reverse of that is the word no. So we've all been told no in our lives, but no is actually 29. And so when President Trump switched, when he pulled the plug on the swamp, and it's, people are saying, well, where is everything? We haven't seen it yet. But it's like think of a big, huge swimming pool or an ocean of a swamp. Eventually, and soon, it will be soon, when it comes, relatively, it's going to start to swell and people are going to start to see the whirlpool and they're going to start to see that. But when he switched it on, that was on the 29th of August, which was Judgment Day, which we spoke about before. So on is 29, AUG is 29, and actually the date itself was 29. So 29, 29, 29 comes to 87, and that word equals stocks. So stocks equals 8. Sorry, did I say 27? I meant to say 87. So stocks equals 87. Another one that he said was he starts off by saying, he said, I'd like to by saying. So he starts off his speech by saying, Now, if you take the word buy, not B-Y, but B-U-Y, that comes to 48. And then if you add the word saying, S-A-Y-N-G, that comes to 75. And if you add 48 to 75, that comes to 1, 2, 3, which again is a reference to gold and silver. 1, 2, 3, easy as 1, 2, 3, easy as A, B, C. And so this is all happening in the first 20, 30 seconds of his speech. There's all these commas that he's put in, and it's all loaded. It's just amazing.
Incredible. Absolutely brilliant, Tom.
There's a couple others, Charlie, that he did as well. You mentioned it about arrest, but he said quite blatantly this time, he said, we've been doing arrests quietly. He said there was over 200. So that could be any number above 200, but he said that. And also something else that he said, again, going back to this 19 reference, was on 1 minute 55 in. So 55 is a loud and clear signal. So 5, 5 can be 10, 10, it can be 5 and 5, which can be 10, or it can be 25, which is 5 times 5. But probably the loudest and clearest one is 5 and 5. We've said before that Melania, the word Melania adds up to 55, so she's a loud, clear signal. She'll quite often put comms on a fashion, on her clothing, etc. But so on 155, he says the word authorities. Now, when you add up authorities, that comes to 145, which actually 14 plus 5 comes to 19. So again, it was another reference to this thing of 19. So 19 years ago was 9/11, 2001, and that's going to be coming up quite soon. So again, he made reference to that, and he did it on the 155, which was a loud, clear signal. So let people think on that. Another thing that's interesting is going back to the film theme. I love talking about Christopher Nolan because he makes great films, and he's a fully white hat director and involved with Q, etc. and Trump. I've got a friend, his name's Jeremy Theobald. Now, he's not like a big household name, but he was actually the leading actor in Christopher Nolan's first feature film called Following, and we've mentioned it before, Charlie. Following is that word you see on Twitter. So when you've got the number of followers, they just call it Following. Mm-hmm. And it's Christopher Nolan's first film, Following. But the reason I mention it is Jeremy is actually in Christopher Nolan's new film, Tenet. He has a cameo role where I won't give anything away, but there's a scene with Michael Caine in it, and Jeremy's in that scene. But when you add up Jeremy's name, Jeremy comes to 76, which is the same as Thomas or Sidney or Emmett from Back to the Future, Doc Brown, Emmett. And when you add up Theobald, that comes to 81. So 76 plus 81 actually comes to 157. And again, 1 plus 57 or 1 plus 57 comes to 58. So you've got that double reference again of 2929, which was August 29. So you've got that, and Jeremy's his actor, and that's his name. That's what it adds up to. Another thing as well is Christopher Nolan, before the Following, he did a film called Doodlebug, which was like a little short film, and Jeremy was the star of that as well. It was only, I don't know, maybe 8, 9, 10 minutes long. I'm not sure, can't remember, but Doodlebug adds up to 85, which again is silver. So like you say, how many times is it, how many coincidences until it's not a coincidence? So all these things add up, and it's just incredible. It's just amazing how it all fits in. Another one that President Trump said early in his address from a couple of days ago is he said, he said a few other things, but there's another piece that's come up is, think of this thing about 800 numbers. So we're here in Q and in the community about 800. So 800 actually comes to 8 is 49 and 100 is 74. So 49 plus 74 again comes to 123, which is gold and silver. So when we keep hearing, well, when's the 800 number coming out? They're actually saying it's gold and silver. So there could be lots of double loops and meanings again on that one. And if you say the word or the phrase, the 800 number, so the is 33, 8 is 49, 100 is 74, number is 73. So 33 add 49 add 74 add 73 equals 229. So again, that's 2 times 29, August the 29th. So all of these things, Charlie, are just, it's just amazing how it just fits together and it's worked out. It's just incredible. It's beautiful how they've done it.
It's amazing how you decode the numbers. It's mind-blowing. It's absolutely amazing.
It is. It's
trying to make sense of chaos is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's just this, like I said before, I kind of just follow my nose now. No one really taught this to me, like said, in a conversation, but I do feel blessed, and I've been taught from the master, President Trump, and his influences and the higher dimensions, etc., have definitely guided me and shown me all of this, and I'm just really grateful for it. Another thing that people, I think, will like is something that I discovered just yesterday. People talk about XRP and Ripple, and we've spoken a bit about that and how there's a bit of a difference between that, but they're very closely linked. So Ripple actually comes up to, again, this number 76. So you've got 76. 76 takes you back to 1776. So with the US being formed, etc. But 17 is Q, 76. That's Emmett, that's Thomas, that's Sydney, that's Jeremy, who I just spoke about a few moments ago. But XRP, this one really made me chuckle when I realised what this added up to, Charlie. It comes to 58. It's 2929. XRP adds up to 58, which is 2929.
Couldn't make that one up.
You couldn't, could you? You couldn't.
Wow.
It's just incredible. It's just beautiful. How this has all been done is it's just brilliant. I love being a part of this great 4 and 5, 6-dimensional and beyond movie that we're in. I love it. It's just incredible.
Well, I want to thank you very much for your insight. It's been incredible, and we'll do this again and again and again, because every single day, every single week, these things happen, and trying to decode them and unwrap them is a lot of fun. It's
brilliant, Charlie. Thanks for your time. There's just in closing, just a couple of real quick ones before we go. Yesterday, Stephen Hendry, the snooker player, was on the front pages of the papers. Mm-hmm. And he's doing a feature inside talking about him coming back into snooker. But Stephen Hendry, so Stephen comes to 87. So 87 is 29, 29, 29, as we spoke about before. But the headline is Stephen Hendry on cue, page 80. So Hendry comes to 74. So you've got Stephen, which is 87, and Hendry is 74. President Trump is age 74, okay? But then you've got 3 words. You've got on, cue, and page. On, we've already mentioned, equals 29. Cue, so President Trump's using the snooker and the pool analogy again. Cue, C-U-E, he's also saying 17, in our subconscious, we can hear that word. But cue comes to 29, and page comes to 29. So again, that's a reference to August the 29th, but it's also on, switching on. So they switched on August 29th. That's 3/29. So on 29, Q 29, page 29. And yesterday, when this was on the headlines, this was on the 2nd of September. So 2nd of September, 2 and 9, again, is 29. And the reason they've done it on page 80 is page 80 is a double reference. So it's 2 40s. And if you break down 40, that's 2 sets of 20. And we know from the 24-hour clock that the 220, so 20 on the 24-hour clock, and on the 12-hour clock goes to number 8. So 88 is 2020. You've got 2 sets of that, that's 8888. So they're doing a double on the 8888, which is just incredible. That also reminds me of something that we can talk about in a further session together. Is President Trump's got some special letters and words that he uses as well. So the letter O is the same as 0. Okay, so in some instances the letter O can be used. So the value of O, which is the first letter for oranges that he mentioned clearly before, and we did a previous piece on it, comes to 15. So sometimes in the comms you can actually use the letter O for 0, which adds 15, and that you do some on that and you'll see the amazing beauty of that as well. And it's like, even in my name, Thomas, so THOMAS, I figured out the 24-hour clock thing, so 20 down to 8, etc. So if I add up my name, Thomas, that comes to 76. But if I change H to a 20, that takes us up to 88. And people say, oh no, Tom, you can't do that. I was like, okay, well, let's go the other way then. If we reduce T down to 8, that takes us to 64. So 64 is 8 times 8, which is 88 again. So 64, 88, and bang in the middle is 76. And the US was set up in 1776. So you can just see the beauty of this, Charlie. This is how this all goes. It's just incredible. And you've got Bushnell, and you've got the telescope we've mentioned before. Telescope comes up to 100. Bushnell telescopes. There's a biblical reference to in the Bible about bushel without the N. So Bushnell comes to 93, but if you take the N off, that actually comes to 79, which is atomic gold. And there was a lady 2 or 3 days ago, red hair, I think she's maybe a minister or someone in business, I don't know her name, but she was such and such bushel, and she was on the front pages, I think it was the Guardian or the Telegraph. So they're telling people now, they're putting it out there, bushel was right there. And bushel is I think it's a measure of wheat or corn back in, ancient times, but it's 79. And there's that verse that says, don't hide your light under a bushel. And you've got another one, get someone else that's 93, which is dear to your heart, is your wonderful son, Justin. So he comes to 93, Bushnell comes to 93. And it's just amazing, Charlie, how all of this adds up and how it all fits and how it works. I just love it. It's just really great. And if you've got Bushnell and telescope, so Bushnell is 93 plus telescope, which is 100, that comes to 193. 19 plus 3 comes to 22, which is AU for gold. And we've mentioned in previous episodes at the beginning, when we started, about the golden telescope in Back to the Future 3 with Doc, Emmett Brown, which is you, using the golden telescope. So it's just beautiful, It's just beautiful how this works, Charlie. The golden telescope, you're Doc Brown, and your son is Justin, 93. Same as Bushnell. It's just, you can just see how this works. It's just beautiful, Charlie, how it goes on. And it's a pleasure and it's an honor. And thank you for your time. Thank you to the Trumps and to Q and everyone else. And God bless everyone.
Hi, it's Justin, and I hope you're enjoying my dad's videos. Make sure to share this video with family and friends, like and subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you get notified for all my dad's new videos. My social media will be tagged down below so you can follow it. And just remember, Jesus loves you.